Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen and Day 4 of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, where we're featuring MISC and a few other manufacturers, mainly Argo and Crusader. So you might say it's the miscellaneous day? No, actually we had another miscellaneous day yesterday already, which is also why I didn't make any video yesterday about the Aerospace Expo, because yesterday was very underwhelming. Basically, the only somewhat interesting ship that I could have talked about was the Mustang, and I just made a video about that, plus an upcoming series about just playing with that ship, so I didn't think I need to repeat myself that badly. So here we are back at day 4. Let's take a stroll around and see what we find. First ships down here are the Razor series of ships. Ones we're looking at in the front, not the ones to our side. They're, well, racing ships, which means they're kind of encroaching on the M50 territory, and I kind of don't really see why you would ever want to have a racing ship unless you're really a dedicated racer participating in races, which we know we've had a racing mode in the game for quite a while. When it initially came out, quite a few people played it because it was one of the few things that you could actually play, and you could learn the flight model and all that. But with the flight model becoming more drifty and stuff, I think people just moved away from that really drastically. And just aside from that mode, just the in-universe things that you could use the ship for is practically non-existent because it doesn't have cargo space. You can't carry boxes with it. It's a really poor fighter craft, so you can't really fight anything with it. At some point, those racer ships were supposed to be used in an interceptor type of role, which sounds logical at first. You know, you have something that's faster than other ships, so if someone is fleeing from you, you can catch up to them having a faster ship. And because you're the better pilot, supposedly, even if you have fewer weapons than that guy, you might still be able to take them down. But ever since we have dedicated bounty hunting ships like the Hawk, the Titan Warlock, the whole speed thing has become something that's not very unique to the racing ships anymore. And just equipment, and especially weapons-wise, are just so poor that you really don't have any chance, to be honest. Also, yes, you have a higher speed than your potential prey, but they probably will just quantum jump away if they're a player and if they don't want to fight you, you know? The only chance that you might have is because they don't think you're a threat in your small little racing ship, and you might teach them differently in the fight. But aside from that, I don't really see what you want with these kind of ships in the universe right now, and they're hella expensive, you know? For the kind of function that you're gonna get out of them, they're hugely expensive. Like, you can almost buy a freelancer that we're probably gonna run into on the showroom floor for the same price, and it's really not worth it. I get it. It's an expensive racing car. This one even looks like a Formula 1 car in a lot of aspects. But does that need to be so expensive? I guess so that only a few people ever use one, I guess. Anyway, behind us we also have the Soul Argo ship here, I believe, which is the MPUV, I think. There are different sorts with slightly different focus. I think that one is more focused on carrying cargo because it has this cargo pod back there. The other one has some seats back here, so I guess you can kind of use it as a small shuttle for a few persons. Also, they have been made somewhat irrelevant recently by the what's the name of that? By the Pisces. Because the Pisces basically has that. It's not really that much bigger, but it also has, you know, some combat viability, which these really don't. And it's still small enough that you can fit it in some of the bigger ships like the Karak. So I also don't see why too many people would be having one of those ships. But I mean, they're interesting to have on a pure utility standpoint, obviously. But it's really nothing I would recommend that you get unless you have, you know, a huge fleet and you just need that one space just for your personal shuttle to get from place A to place B, from your one big ship to your other big ship, or from that to any station or something like that. So that's kind of the only real reason I could see why people would want to have one of those. Anyway, moving on. That one is the Prospector. Up until very recently, the only mining ship, and still the only mining ship in the game, but recently we have added the ability to just mine stuff with our own hand mining tool, so you can also participate in mining without having that ship, which, you know, opened the profession up for more people to try out other than just the people who had the ship already. And also the... I don't remember what the name was. I think it was the Mole or something. There was another mining ship announced that had not just one mining laser, but like a pilot and then like 3 mining lasers, I believe. So in the future you can also just mine together with a whole bunch of people. So I don't particularly like mining in this game, but I don't think I really like mining in any game, to be honest. Just stationary standing around and collecting rocks. Strange enough, I have no issue just slaughtering NPC ships for hours, or just doing trading and carrying delivery boxes for hours. So apparently I'm not averse to repetitive tasks. It's just I don't really see the whole point in mining, but some people do, and some people should have the opportunity to do that. Whatever floats your boat. I mean, or to quote Firefly again, some people juggle geese. Anyway, moving on. What the hell is that over there? That looks different. Oh, now I know what that is. It looked kind of weird from the side, you know. If you take a look at it from this perspective, I was what the hell is that ship? But now that I'm seeing it from the front, I guess I could have just looked over here. Now that I'm seeing it from the front, I know what that is. It's the Reliant. The Reliant, kind of another attempt at a sort of slightly advanced starting ship. The main feature of these ships is that you have two spaces in the cockpit, so you could just always transport someone or have a co-pilot managing some stuff. Also, they're kind of based on some ideas of other aliens in the universe, and this ship in particular, kind of when it starts, it kind of flips its wings around. Last year you could do that even though the ships were stationed here on the ground. So let's actually try out if we can still do that, because it looked hilarious with the wings sort of clipping through the floor. So let's enter the pilot seat, just to test it out. And then if we engage landing gear, let's take a look at outside. If we engage landing gear, well, that closed that, but
systems on.
Huh. Well, that thing seems to be broken. I mean, it's not supposed to fly, so I guess it might be broken by intent. Yeah. I guess they also locked out all the buttons. Alright. Well, shame. It was pretty hilarious last year when you could just flip it from landing mode, which they are currently in, to how they would look in flight, which has kind of the wings kind of rotating 90 degrees around the ship. This year apparently they decided to not do that. I think they had them kind of hanging from the ceiling last year, so you could actually facilitate that. And this year they're just on the floor. So I guess they kind of address it through that. There's some variants that have a slight different focus. I think that one is just the Mako. The Mako, I think, is kind of focused on information gathering and also distribution, so kind of a small news van or something like that. Then over here we have the Kore. The Kore, I think, is just has additional cargo space compared to the other ones. But I think it's just the base variant of the ship is supposed to be that, and then you have slightly upgraded and specialized variants. Over here we have the Tanner. I think the Tanner is more combat focused. I guess this might be a weapon. I'm not sure though, it looks different than most of the weapons I know. To be totally honest with you. And then over here we must have had this. We must have the Zen. The Zen is, I think, science focused. I'm not sure how they're gonna do the science focus because I don't think it has anything particularly sciencey in there. Let's maybe take a look. You know, being a certified scientist and all, I might be interested in what they understand as science here. It has beds and it has a... well, it has a futuristic microscope, I guess. So it has a small science station. Okay, I see. Okay, good. Fine. Great. So... all of these ships kind of being your beginner entry level of ships for some more advanced professions. Not sure how good they are gonna be because we don't really know much about the details, what, you know, distributing news and doing science in this game are all about, so kind of hard to judge at this point. But they're there when we finally get mechanics to actually make use of that. Alright, on our right we have the Starfarer. I think the one here is just the regular one, just the kind of Starfarer, yeah, just the Starfarer. And then over here, so the Starfarer, I don't think if I ever made a video about those. They're basically the first large ship that CIG has ever produced, and it's supposed to be a refueling vessel that can also harvest and maybe, just maybe, also generate its own quantum fuel and then distribute it to other ships. So it does that. In order to facilitate that whole fueling process, there's some special stuff happening above us. So let's actually take a look inside. Now that we started talking about it, let's actually also see what I mean. It also has an interesting interior that looks a lot like someone tried to design an FPS level for boarding action and then just also build a ship around it. Anyway. Oops, is there a door here? I don't see a door. Now I can crouch through here. Anyway, from these small panels here, at some point you can just make use of those tanks. Like, let's say there's a smaller ship stranded somewhere, you could pull over with your Starfarer and tell them, okay, you're gonna give me 1000 AUEC and I give you that much amount of fuel, which is probably more expensive than they would have had if they would have had to pay if they went to a normal space station. But you know, you brought it to them, so they're gonna be paying extra, obviously. So there's that. It can also carry some cargo, and what I mean some is up until recently, and ignoring the caterpillar, it's still pretty decent amount of cargo. What the hell is up with this door here? This door is driving me crazy. Is there another way off? No, I don't want to bloody rent it. That's kind of the problem when you have, you know, this whole thing interactive as rent, and then maybe in some places you would just want to actually use controls. Let's try going through here one more time. No. Oh dear. Now lock myself in on the refueling deck of the Starfarer. How great. Guess this is too high to jump up. Whoa, it is not. Yeah. Well, don't try this at home, guys. It's probably not very good, but seemed like the best way to try and get out of this. Anyway, this is just your standard tanker refueler. And this one is also that, but it's slightly militarized. I think it has better armor. Also, it has this kind of different paint scheme. It's not just brushed metallic, but it has this kind of, you know, greenish militaristic look. And I think it also has an additional missile launcher somewhere, and, you know, it's just generally a little bit better at combat. But better at combat just means it's probably be able to defend itself from attack, while this... It also has some pretty decent turrets. I think the turret on top of the ship is still the most powerful turret in the game. But the ship is not very maneuverable. But again, being a large ship, it has a shield that means that you don't have to deal with most of the things that will attack you. So your threats are basically bombers and really, really specialized fighter craft. So, and as you can see here, apparently the missile launcher is right under the nose, which looks a bit stupid, to be totally honest. Anyway. Then, over here, for the final ships of this exposition today, we have the Freelancer. I actually made a video recently about the Freelancer and the performance, which actually led me to buy one of those, this one to be more specifically, the Dur. Previously I had both an Arrow for just pure dogfighting purposes and 315p for exploration purposes, but really exploration wasn't in the game yet. I just basically had it because I liked the Origin design and especially the 300 series, and I just wanted to have one, and I just had some spare money left. But then recently, after taking a look at the Freelancer, I saw, you know, it can dogfight better than the Arrow, because just with the more powerful guns that you have, you can just take care of bigger ships than the Arrow probably is able to. And you're also in a medium ship, so you have better shields and all that good stuff. So you have a better quantum drive. So really, and also especially the Dur also has a lot more has a lot more quantum fuel, and especially hydrogen fuel, and also a better hydrogen scoop. So I've actually never refueled the hydrogen on the ship, even though I've flown it for 10 hours at this point probably. So it's really good at that. And yeah, compared to the other Freelancers that I discussed I discussed the base Freelancer in my previous video. Compared to the other Freelancers, yeah, it's got a little bit less cargo space because it has this kind of refueling thingy in there, and it has additional cargo and it has additional fuel pods on the wings and all that. So it's a little bit more bulky, but it doesn't seem to be less maneuverable than the other Freelancers. You just mainly have a little bit less cargo space because there's this machine in here which normally would be a cargo room in the other variants, but that's about it. It still has 40 SCU of cargo space, which is, you know, about a cutlass in size, which is fine for certain high value goods. Probably not enough when you want to just trade some medium tier metal, but there's other ships for that, obviously. Let's also talk about the other ships real quick. I think the left one is probably going to be the MISC. Yes. The MISC is kind of the meta ship right now, because it's the Freelancer with all its good parts, especially the dual size 3 turrets. And then also it has a whole lot more missiles than the other variants. And missiles are pretty good, because nobody has countermeasures, so missiles being pretty good. Apparently it also starts with Gatling guns, which is a pretty decent choice, to be honest. So if you're looking for a combat ship for a dedicated combat ship in the Freelancer size, this one is even better than the Dur, obviously. It's slightly more expensive, but you know, I just got the Dur because it has this exploration focus and it has really long range, and I would like to have one ship specialized in that, so I took it over the MISC for mainly that reason. But if you're looking for a good combat ship that doesn't expect too much of you in terms of maneuvering and, you know, and you know, dogfighting skills, but just survives most of the regular fighters and has a whole lot of firepower that they probably can't deal with for very long, then the MISC is pretty good, you know? And finally, let's actually take a look in there, because the interior looks a little bit different. Is the Max over here. Also has a really neat paint scheme. I really like that orange-white thing, you know? I've also grown to like the red and black of the door a little bit, but if I could exchange it for a similar paint scheme to this here, I'd probably do it in a heartbeat. Anyway, this Freelancer is a little bit wider, which has the advantage of you can actually walk around this a little bit more easy. Kind of one of the strange things about the Freelancer, now that I have one, is if you have cargo in there, it's basically stacked in the middle of the ship. So supposedly you could still walk on the left side of it and on the right side of it, which is especially critical because on the walls there's some ship components that you might have to repair, replace, or whatnot whenever we get those systems in. In the door, at least, you can't walk around on the left side when there's some cargo in there. It doesn't look like there's less space than on the right side, but you still can't walk through it for whatever reason. Here, it still seems to be a very similar issue. I think even more of that. I really don't get why. You know, why they put all this stuff on the walls here, and then, you know, you have to have space for 2 walkways instead of... If that was just a regular old wall, you could just stack the cargo up until right to the wall, and then make a walkway in the middle, you know? You wouldn't use less space because you just have 1 walkway, so it would probably feel a little bit less claustrophobic. And, you know, you can probably not reach those when you have cargo with you anyway, so there's really no point in having space in front of them. So, I don't know. It has been suggested by some people to remove the side airlock that you can use to enter and leave the ship here, and just also probably remove some of the beds, because the Freelancers for some reason have 4 beds. Also, they have 4 seats in the cockpit, but you really don't need 4 people to man the ship. I mean, you can have 1 piloting it, and then you have also a turret in the back, so there might be a point for having someone there. Maybe someone managing the systems, okay, but what are those people supposed to be doing? You know, sleeping, so that when the pilot gets tired, you just change the people around? I don't quite get why CIG thought it would be necessary to have 4 people in a Freelancer. But if CIG would change that to just 2 people, you could just leave the cockpit as it is. Maybe you want to bring someone along and they can just sit down somewhere. But just remove 2 of the beds and the side airlock that most people don't use anyway. And then here you would have space to maybe put in a separate room for the components, so that they're easy to access from the cockpit. You don't need to walk all the way through the ship, through this extra storeroom here. And then, oh no, we have cargo in there and we can't reach our components anyway because the walkway is blocked. Congratulations. So, maybe if they do a rework on the Freelancer, they should maybe look into that and do a little bit, do a little something about that. The Freelancer Max is a little bit wider. I mentioned that already. It's also a little bit less maneuverable, but obviously it also has a little bit more cargo. I think the base has 66. Then the DUR and the MISC have 40, and this one has 120. So it's quite a bit more. But still, it's a nice ship. I'm currently debating whether I would just upgrade my DUR to a Max, or just get an upgrade token and I can use it if I want to or not. I can always just get the DUR back if I really miss it. It's been doing a fine job, but you know, the Max has a lot more cargo space, you know. And right now, cargo space is more important than fuel considerations or potential exploration features which are not in the game yet. Anyway, so much about the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo Day 4 miscellaneous. Tomorrow we're gonna have alien manufacturers, which might hold a little bit of a surprise, because so far, aside from the Pisces, they really didn't have any unexpected ships in this year's Expo. There were even some ships that were there last year that they just forgot or just didn't bring in again. So maybe we might be seeing something tomorrow. It seems to be the best bet because the other manufacturers, Aegis and Drake and Origin, already have a lot of ships. And maybe they had to build an alien ship for Squadron 42 and just want to showcase that, you know? Maybe just as a small niche along the side somewhere with some military guards. They're saying, we just recently captured this prototype Vandal ship. We don't quite know what it is. We're gonna prototype, call it, I don't know. And we just want to showcase here that the Vandal are really dangerous. And they look at this scary ship here, you know, propaganda purposes. I can imagine something like that happening maybe, but maybe I'm expecting too much out of CIG. I don't know, but I guess we'll see tomorrow. Have a good one.